Movement!
What's the position?
Can't lock in.
Talk to me, Hudson!
Multiple signals. I got signals. I got readings in front and behind.
Where, man? I don't see shit.
He's right, there's nothing back here.
Look, I'm telling you, there's something moving and it ain't us.
The movie begins with a spacecraft drifting slowly through space. Inside is Ellen Ripley, the only survivor from the previous movie, having escaped in the shuttle of the mining ship Nostromo, which she blew up after an aggressive and hostile alien species was responsible for killing her colleagues. If you haven't seen the first movie, the link is in the description. Ripley is still in a peaceful cryogenic sleep with the crew's pet cat, Jones, lying on top of her. A proximity alert goes off. The shuttle is intercepted by a salvage vessel. The crew, believing they'll be allowed to salvage an abandoned shuttle, uses a welding torch to open the door and enters, finding that Ripley is still alive. Ripley regains consciousness at a hospital on Gateway Station, a space station orbiting Earth. A nurse informs her that she is in a medical bay. Carter Burke, a representative of Weyland-Yutani, the company from the last film and Ripley's employer, pays her a visit and brings the cat Jones with him. When Ripley says she doesn't recognize the medical bay, Burke informs her that she has been in hypersleep.
How long?
57 years.
What?
Her spaceship drifting across space until the salvage vessel discovered it by coincidence. Ripley later finds herself in an artificial environment, waiting for Burke, who wants to prepare her for a board hearing. The company has launched an official inquiry into what happened to the Nostromo, and they want Ripley to answer questions regarding her participation in its destruction. However, Ripley is solely interested in hearing about Amanda, her daughter. Burke reluctantly delivers her a photograph of an elderly woman, and informs Ripley that this is her daughter, who died of cancer while she was floating through space for 57 years. Devastated, Ripley says to her daughter that she vowed to return for her 11th birthday before leaving on the Nostromo. During the investigation, Ripley eagerly attempts to convince the board of the aliens' danger and the possible threat of the abandoned ship, which still carries hundreds of eggs. She reveals that the Nostromo crew was given orders to capture the creature, which killed the crew members and destroyed the ship at the moment. The board, on the other hand, is highly suspicious of Ripley's testimony.
No, it's a rock. No indigenous life. A creature that gestates inside a living human host. Yes. These are your words. And has concentrated acid for blood.
That's right.
They regard her as though she is mentally ill, since she admits to destroying the Nostromo and there is no trace of the alien thing. The board does not file criminal charges against her, but instead ends her flight license and places her under mental care. When Ripley questions why no one is going to the planetoid to check her story, she is astounded to hear that the planetoid, now known as LV-426, has already been occupied for 30 years by terraformers who are producing an atmosphere to make the air breathable and the planetoid habitable. Burke pays her a visit later, escorted by Lieutenant Gorman of the Colonial Marines. Burke informs Ripley that communication with the settlement on LV-426 has been lost. The company plans to deploy a squadron of Marines because they believe that aliens are responsible for this, and they would want her to serve as an advisor because she has personal experience with these aliens. Burke will accompany him because the company co-financed the colony. Weyland-Yutani has also pledged to reactivate Ripley as a warrant officer if she leaves. Ripley refuses because she is afraid of returning to the location where she first encountered the creature, and because she is still angry that no one at the company believed her earlier story.
I am not going back, and I would not be any good to you if I did.
However, as her nightmares get worse, she fears that if she does not go on the mission, she will never be able to find peace. She phones Burke and convinces her that the mission to LV-426 is to exterminate any aliens and not to study or capture them.
That's the plan. You have my word on it.
The Sulaco, a huge battleship, sails into deep space. Inside the ship are Colonial Marines, headed by Lieutenant Gorman and joined by Ripley and Burke. After waking up from hypersleep, Sergeant Apone promptly assumes charge. One strong female soldier called Vasquez refers to Ripley as Snow White.
Hey, Vasquez.
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
Ripley realizes that the majority of the Marines are a noisy, undisciplined bunch that laughs about and doesn't appear to take the alien danger seriously.
Trust me. Thank you.
And the Marines appear to dislike their rookie commanding officer, Gorman, who shows little interest in getting to know his squad mates. Ripley is also disturbed to find that a synthetic named Bishop will be accompanying them on the trip as their scientific officer. She has had concerns about synthetics since her conflicts with Ash in the last film. Bishop tries to reassure her that the next generation of artificial humans all have behavioral restrictions and are hence incapable of harming humans. Nevertheless, Ripley ignores his attempts to befriend her.
Just stay away from me, Bishop. You got that straight?
During a mission briefing as the Sulaco approaches LV-426, Ripley informs the soldiers about her encounters with the aliens.
A what?
A xenomorph.
It's a bug hunt.
But they remain undisciplined and dismiss the potential threat the aliens offer. The expedition is brought to the surface of LV-426 by a dropship. The soldiers don't mind being dropped into the planet's atmosphere as they go from the Silico to the planet, but Gorman is nervous. He admits that he has little experience with these kinds of operations, which worsens the troops' reputation for him. Private Hudson, one of the troops, boasts openly about his courage and the superior weapons at their disposal.
Independently targeting particle beam phalanx. We got tactical smart missiles, phase plasma pulse rifles, RPGs, we got sonic electronic ball breakers. We got nukes, we got knives, sharp sticks.
Knock it off, Hudson. All right, gear up.
The dropship breaks through the clouds and flies above the colony, which is a massive man-made building with no observable activity. Burke reveals that the facility features an atmospheric processor, meant to create planets suited for human existence, which are manufactured by Weyland-Yutani. Before taking off again, the ship lands and deploys an armored personal carrier with Marines inside. The Marines depart the APC and walk through the main colony complex entrance. They search the building with motion trackers and discover it abandoned.
Nothing. Not a goddamn thing.
Also, the Marines uncover signs of a severe struggle, including many barricades, small arms fires, and acid burns on the floor, suggesting that the aliens suffered fatalities as well.
Screwing around.
They determine that the building is safe for the time being, which Ripley does not believe. Ripley, Gorman, and Burke walk into the building, but Ripley is obviously shaken by unpleasant memories. They ultimately locate confirmation of Ripley's claim in the medical lab: multiple facehugger creatures, the spider-like monster that attaches itself to the face of a host in a stasis tubes. Two of them look to be alive and well. Ripley and the others make an even more surprising discovery: an 11-year-old girl has survived the alien attack on the colony. She introduces herself as Newt, and informs Ripley that her parents and the others have died. Everyone has been taken in by the aliens, and she would feel safer if she could return to her hiding spot in the ventilation system. Ripley tells her that she feels safe with her and the troops.
These people are here to protect you. They're soldiers.
It won't make any difference.
Private Hudson tracks the colonists, using homing devices inserted in their skin, and learns that the whole population appears to be crammed beneath the facility's principal heat exchangers. The crew transports the APC to the atmospheric processor, where Sergeant Apone and the Marines disembark, while Gorman and Burke remain on board with Ripley to coordinate the sweep from afar. The soldiers uncover unusual biological hive-like structures while descending into the complex, which must have been hidden by the aliens. As the squad descends into the basement, they discover an alien colony holding the colonists' dead bodies, cocooned as hosts for the alien facehugger parasites. One colonist is still alive, but when she awakens, she convulses and begs them to shoot her. A chestburster, a newborn extraterrestrial, bursts its way out of her chest. The soldiers eliminate it with a flamethrower, but their sudden action wakes the hibernating warrior aliens who are hidden behind the walls, which provide effective concealment. They proceed to attack, prompting one Marine to misfire her flamethrower, resulting in an ammo storage explosion. The subsequent confusion is disastrous since the confused Marines have no idea where the attackers are coming from, and are swiftly reduced in number. Apone is unexpectedly attacked and taken unconscious, leading Gorman to worry. Ripley, enraged and angrily yelling at Gorman for his lack of control, takes command of the APC and drives it all the way down into the nest to rescue the surviving troops. Only 4 people return to the APC, and one of them is Drake, who is killed by acid emitted by an exploding alien fired by Vasquez. Ripley locates and rescues Vasquez, Hicks, and Hudson. Hicks uses a shotgun to kill an alien attempting to infiltrate the APC, resulting in a massive acid burn on Hudson's arm. Gorman gets knocked unconscious as Ripley drives the APC out of the facility, smashing an alien beneath the wheels along the way. In the APC, Ripley considers lifting off and nuking the entire place from orbit.
It's the only way to be sure.
But Burke objects because he is concerned about the facility's financial value. But Ripley says,
"They can bill me,"
over Burke's protests. Hicks seconded Ripley's move to nuke the location from orbit and called the dropship pilots. As Private Spunkmeyer returns to the dropship, he discovers some slime before sealing the ramp. An alien infiltrates the spacecraft and kills the pilot Corporal Farrow in mid-flight, causing the aircraft to crash while the other troops flee the area. A portion of the dropship collides with the APC, damaging it as well as the majority of the team's equipment. Ripley and the others are now stuck on the planet's surface, with no way back to the Sulaco.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man.
Newt strongly suggests they return to the complex.
Because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
They return to the main colony complex, where Bishop cures Gorman while the others examine the few remaining weapons salvaged from the APC. The bad news is that only a handful of fully functional pulse weapons and flamethrowers remain. Among the rescued goods are 4 sentry guns, which are remote-controlled machine guns that can automatically target objects. When Hudson finds out that a rescue team will arrive in 17 days, he panics again, yelling that the aliens will infiltrate the complex and kill them. But Ripley finally calls him out, pointing out that Newt has survived even longer without weapons and training. The survivors decide to reinforce the barriers and close off all possible entry points for aliens inside the main colony structure. The plan is immediately put into action. The sentry weapons are strategically placed in areas where aliens are likely to attempt to penetrate the building. A test demonstrates that they work effectively. Bishop has found that the acidic blood of the alien neutralizes when exposed to air. The group is talking about the aliens and how they reproduce. They are using people as hosts for facehuggers, but who or what generates these eggs? Hudson suggests.
There's like one female that runs the whole show.
Yes, the queen.
Ripley instructs Bishop to dispose of the last 2 facehuggers, but he replies that Burke specifically told him to keep them alive. Upon confronting him, Ripley discovers that Burke sent the colonists to examine the abandoned spaceship, holding the alien eggs with the intention of profiting from their recovery, for biological weapon research. Ripley condemns Burke for failing to tell the colonists about the dangers awaiting them, grabs him and swears furiously to reveal his intentions when they return to Earth. The alarm goes off as Ripley walks out of the room. The aliens have arrived at the first pair of sentry guns inside an access tunnel. The weapons kill several of them, but they rapidly run out of ammo, due to the aliens' immensely superior numbers.
That's it.
Bishop says another issue has arisen. The nuclear reactor at the terraforming tower has begun emergency venting. They discover that the structure has been damaged, causing it to malfunction, the cooling units have failed, and the core will explode in a matter of hours. The crash made it impossible to shut off the reactor from their current location. It's also difficult to call the second dropship from the Sulaco because the transmitter was on the APC and was destroyed in the collision. The only option is to go to the uplink tower and manually pilot the Sulaco's second dropship to the surface through remote control. Bishop surprisingly volunteers to crawl through a small conduit to the uplink tower, as he is the only one qualified to pilot the ship anyway. The second set of sentry weapons in the lower corridor fires into the horde of aliens. Many monsters attack the unmanned guns, but they ultimately stop, not realizing that the guns are nearly out of ammunition. Attempts to halt the aliens' progress appear to have been successful for the time being. Meanwhile, Bishop managed to squeeze through the tight conduit to the uplink tower and is getting ready to launch the other dropship. Ripley crosses Gorman on her way back to Newt, who has recovered consciousness and is plainly ashamed of his earlier behavior. She returns to Newt and discovers her curled up asleep beneath the bed. Ripley joins her beneath the bed for a sleep instead of awakening her, leaving her pulse weapon on the bed for safekeeping. Ripley and Newt awaken in the medical laboratory after falling asleep, only to find themselves confined with the two freed facehuggers. Ripley sets off a fire alarm, alerting the Marines who rescue and kill the monsters. Burke is accused of unleashing the facehuggers so that he could implant her and Newt with alien embryos and sneak them through Earth's quarantine.
He's dead. You're dog meat, pal.
The power to the facility is suddenly turned off as they discuss what to do with Burke and are about to waste him. Hicks instructs Vasquez and Hudson to walk the perimeter. They utilize motion trackers to detect activity approaching them from within the perimeter, and Hudson reports that
They're inside the perimeter.
everyone retreats to the Central Operations Center, but the signal continues to approach even from behind the barricades. They quickly realize that they have blocked the obvious access channels but have forgotten about the less obvious ones. And Hicks opens a ceiling panel, revealing that an army of aliens had easily circumvented the barriers by climbing upside down through the crawl spaces above the ceiling. They open fire as the aliens try to get inside the room. While the surviving Marines fight the creature, Burke slips away and seals the medical lab entrance, preventing the remainder from leaving. Hudson fights bravely, blasting down multiple aliens. But he is ambushed by an alien emerging from the floor grid, who grasp and drag him down out of sight. Also, Burke is slain by an alien who has already infiltrated the medical lab. Newt finds another way out, through the air ducts. Bishop reports that the ship is on its way, with an estimated arrival time of a few minutes. Vasquez is the last to enter the vent and shoots all of her grenades and pulse rifle ammunition, before being ambushed by an alien descending down through a vertical duct. She shoots it with her handgun and kills it, but the creature's corrosive blood gravely damages her leg. Gorman arrives to assist her, but they are instantly surrounded by aliens. When Gorman's weapon runs out of ammunition, he holds the grenades and intends to sacrifice himself and Vasquez, destroying the aliens surrounding them. The explosion sends Newt falling into a ventilation shaft that goes to the facility's basement. Ripley and Hicks follow the tracker signal down the stairs to the basement. They discover Newt still clutching her doll's head in a sewer beneath a grid, which Hicks attempts to unlock, but Newt is taken away by an alien before they can save her. Knowing that they can't save her, Ripley and Hicks run into an elevator and take the first floor. The doors don't close until they pound on the buttons again. An alien jumps in before the doors close. Hicks kills the vicious creature but is seriously injured by the alien's blood which eats through his body armor. Ripley leads Hicks out through the complex main doors where they meet Bishop, who has just remotely flown the rescue ship to the surface. Ripley, on the other hand, refuses to leave the planet and demands that Bishop return her to the atmospheric processor to save Newt. Bishop flies the dropship into the atmospheric processor, which is now overloaded and lands on a high platform. Ripley arms herself. Ripley descends the elevator and stalks through the basement, blazing her flamethrower and leaving signal flares on the floor to aid in her going back, as she infiltrates the alien colony. She uses the location signal to locate Newt, but all she finds is the broken wrist piece. However, he hears Newt scream. The girl has been cocooned and is being threatened by a facehugger emerging from an egg. Ripley kills the creature, alerting the warrior aliens to her presence. Ripley swiftly kills the approaching warriors, and frees Newt from the cocoon wall. Several blasts from the failing reactor send Ripley and Newt into an egg-filled chamber. It also contains a massive alien, the queen of the hive who is still laying eggs. She fires the flamethrower at the eggs, pouring fire over the room. The queen goes mad, screaming loudly at the destruction of her offspring. Ripley then blows up the eggs, a number of warrior aliens and the queen's egg sac with a barrage of gunshots and grenades. Ripley tosses her grenade's belt into the blazing fire before retreating to the elevator. The exploding explosives not only destroy the remaining eggs, but they also knock the queen alien off her place. The queen rips herself free from the egg sac and pursues Ripley and Newt violently, who make it back to the elevator and must wait for it to return. The queen approaches them as they flee inside the elevator, and Ripley fires a flamethrower on her as the elevator transports them up. The second elevator, however, opens in front of the queen, who tilts her head to look at it. The dropship is not present when they reach the platform with 2 minutes remaining, much to Ripley's dismay. The other elevator comes, its door opens, and the Queen emerges as the surrounding complex explodes and collapses. Ripley orders Newt to close his eyes, probably with the intention of jumping to their deaths rather than letting the Queen murder them. The dropship then appears, hovering over the platform. As the ship escapes, it gets stuck but manages to get free. Ripley and Newt barely make it on time and in safety. As the processing complex explodes in a gigantic mushroom cloud below them, the dropship carrying Ripley, Newt, Hicks, and Bishop miraculously escapes. Back on the Sulaco, Bishop says that he had to take off from the shaken platform and circle while waiting to pick them up. Ripley reconciles with Bishop and thanks him for saving their lives. Bishop is suddenly speared from behind by a massive stinger and cut in two at the waist by the Queen. The Queen had escaped from the blast and managed to get into the ship by hiding within the landing gear recess. She makes a frightening move towards Ripley and Newt. Ripley draws the Queen's attention and orders Newt to flee. As Ripley continues to call out the Queen, Newt dives beneath the floor, then she flees and hastily locks the door behind her. The Queen smashes the door, then searches the floor and begins ripping off the floor plates until she has cornered the child. Ripley arrives with the big forklift and power loader. The exoskeleton-like equipment equals her against the gigantic Queen.
Get away from her, you bitch!
And they fight furiously. Ripley strikes the Queen many times, grabs her and tries to dump her into the ship's airlock. But the Queen immediately grabs the power loader, dragging Ripley down into the airlock with her. Ripley escapes and climbs the ladder while the Queen grabs her leg. Ripley activates the controls which open the outer lock door, allowing air to escape the ship. The Queen strongly holds onto Ripley's foot, but her shoe falls off, and she is blown out into space, shrieking and thrashing madly. Bishop catches Newt and holds them both as they are blown towards the airlock. Ripley manages to drag herself out of the airlock, despite the immense air pressure, and seals it. Newt approaches her and hugs her, calling her mommy. Bishop tells her,
Not bad for a human.
As Ripley and Newt hug. The film ends with Ripley preparing for the journey back to Earth through hypersleep. She tells Newt that she will be able to sleep all the way home and that they will both be able to dream. If you enjoy movies like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. That's all for now. Thank you and take care.
I only need to know one thing. Where they are.
Joe, let's kick ass.
Anytime, anywhere.
Right. Somebody said alien. She thought they said illegal alien and signed up.